Should I start, Yoka?
Yes, please, Anke. Thank you very much.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Civil 7 Kickoff Japan 2023. It's my pleasure to guide you through today. And I have to say, because it's such a global event, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, good night to all of you. My name is Anke Kurat, and I'm acting managing director of FENRO, which is the umbrella organization of 140 German humanitarian aid and development NGOs, and I'm a member of the C7 steering committee. We see an amazing number of participants from all over the world. Welcome to all of you. I would warmly welcome as well Ambassador Kazuhiko Nakamura, Japan's G7 Sherpa. We are very pleased to welcome you, and we are looking forward to your speech soon. Let me shortly introduce you to today's rules. First of all, please change the titles below your pictures. Please start with your name in alphabetic order and your organization. This is my first ask to you. Then please, some easy rules. Keep your microphones off when you're not speaking. Turn on your camera if you can to see everybody. There will be no translation, but you can use live transcription. The meeting will be recorded and may be shared later. And finally, please enjoy the discussion, and your participation is mostly welcome. You can use the chat if you would like to. I will have a look at it continuously. Let's have a look on today's program. After the welcome remarks, we will listen to the Sherpa's speech. Then we will have a look on the C7 process, steering committee, and the working groups. We have presentations from the working group coordinators. We have breakout discussion in 6 working groups. We have a reporting back to the plenary. We have a question and answer session and closing remarks. And at 1 p.m., we will take a photo as a screenshot. So please keep your camera on. I will give you a sign at that moment. So our aim of today is to bring everybody on board on this year's C7 process hosted by Civil 7 Japan. And now I hand over to Mariko Kinai and Karel Mangwensa. Mariko is the National Director of World Vision Japan, a board member of JANIC, and a member of the steering committee. Karel is the policy lead at Cooperation Canada and a member of C7 steering committee as well. The floor is up to you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Anke. Can you hear me okay? All right, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Let us extend our warmest welcome to each one of you. And thank you very much for joining us today's kickoff event for C7 2023. I am Mariko Kinai, as Anke kindly introduced, from World Vision Japan, and a member of the C7 steering committee. In opening, I would like to touch upon with you 3 things today. The first is about the unprecedented situation we are currently in. A few years ago, many of us were talking about the unprecedented 3 C's: COVID, conflict, and climate. Now this has been renewed to 4 C's, 3 C's plus cost, as you know, global inflation brought about by 3 C's. And there has been very serious and urgent special agenda of the moment every year at the G7 and C7 meetings. But as exemplified by this 4 C's, I realize I must say the Hiroshima G7 summit will be held in the context of exceptionally serious, urgent, complex, and probably interrelated global issues, which are unprecedented in these recent years. So secondly, in solving such interrelated issues, we all know a compartmentalized approach will not work. This is what we CSOs has traditionally argued to governments and international organizations. And today, let us draw our attention to the fact that the same applies to CSOs ourselves. CSOs are the professional groups with deep knowledge of the global and local realities, with the ability to connect with diverse range of people and organizations. And we are the organizations with the innovative ideas and the implementation skills and policy recommendations. So in order to respond to the complex interrelated global challenges, it is very important for us to maximize the engagement of NGOs and CSOs, not only from the G7 countries, but G20 countries and beyond, particularly from the global south, I would say, and bringing diverse perspectives. Furthermore, the essential key is to integrate our diverse expertise and perspectives. There are 6 working groups in this C7 process. And as a steering committee, we will do our best to ensure that there will be sufficient exchange of information and communication within and between the working groups. And in the course of these discussions, it may not always be possible for everyone to agree, but I would call that state as agree to disagree. And would like to have I would like to, have a spirit to welcome that diversity as well. Thirdly, the G7 meeting will be held in Hiroshima, as you know, from the place of the world's first city hit by an atomic bomb. It is more than important for us as a C7 to amplify the voice of the people calling for peace and to advocate for the nuclear disarmament, which is the theme for the working group newly added under the C7 2023. Finally, I'm very grateful that today we will hear from Ambassador Nakamura, the G7 Sherpa, about the G7 Hiroshima Summit priorities. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your time in the midst of a busy schedule and in this rather unsocial time in Japan, which is 9 o'clock in the night. There will be also presentation from each of the working groups later in this event. And please warmly welcome these working group coordinators who courageously took these difficult but very important roles. In closing, I truly hope today's event will become a starting point for us to create synergy among us at a time when humanitarian security, sustainability, justice, and peace are challenged as never before. Thank you very much. Over to you, Anke. And
yeah, thank you very much, Mariko, for your warm welcome. And now I hand over to Karel to listen to your words.
Thank you, Anke. Thank you, Mariko. Welcome to all of you. Salutations à tout le monde. My name is Karel Mang-Benza. I lead the policy team at Cooperation Canada. That is a coalition of Canadian CSOs working in international development and humanitarian assistance. And Cooperation Canada, for those who were there a few years ago, coordinated the C7 process back in 2018, at the time, last time Canada had the G7 presidency. So Canada is a G7 country, nothing new here, but Canada is also a settler colony, a country where settlers, European settlers, came to stay. And our office, the Cooperation Canada offices, are located on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation in a city that is now has the colonial name of Ottawa, the federal capital of Canada. Indigenous peoples in Canada have endured and continue to endure violence against their culture, lands, and bodies. And the multiple crises that my colleague Mariko described earlier also violently impact people's lands and body, especially women and children. But that's not all Canada is. Canada is often referred to as a feminist country. First of all, because we have a feminist assistance policy that drives the way we interact with countries abroad. So what does it mean in practice? Well, feminist leadership transforms lives. It's the aspiration of transforming life by examining the root causes of inequalities, of oppression, by taking an intersectional lens to address those inequalities effectively and in a sustainable manner. Mariko earlier referred to as going away from the compartmentalized way of approaching issues. Feminist leadership means daring to uproot the systemic vulnerabilities that perpetuate underdevelopment and entrench those crises, and that keep us in a perpetual cycle of being reactive to crisis rather than proactive. So what does all of that has to do with the C7 process? Well, as I said, feminist leadership invites transformation. And this is a transformation that civil society organizations involved in the C7 process have consistently been calling for. There is no doubt that global civil society actors can muster the necessary human capacity to propose ways to think and act differently in face of complex development challenges. And armed with that capacity, the capacity that intellectual and human capacity, we, within the C7 process, we also have to recognize that we have a privileged position that not all CSOs have around the world. And this privileged position comes with the big responsibility to unrelentlessly challenge the status quo, even when that status quo sometimes may play in our favor. I'm talking also about the responsibility of calling in and calling out our respective governments when their actions contribute to perpetuating the inequalities and maintaining the most vulnerable groups on the planet in a cycle of marginalization and voicelessness. A few months ago, you may have read that a senior official at the International Monetary Fund chastised donor nations, criticized those nations for being short-sighted. And that senior official added that the failure to support lower income countries in trouble now, those countries that are facing the 4 Cs that Mariko described, well, failure to support and address those crises now will have ripple effect across the globe in the future, because the debt crisis forces countries to borrow more, and they have a dire choice. Either you borrow now or you let your citizens go hungry. This contributes to worsening the debt servicing cost. The debt crisis is another one of the converging crises that Mariko talked about. And I'm confident, despite the complex, interrelated and difficult crisis, that our collective energy in the C7 process will bear fruit, and that our contribution to the G7 will make a difference. So thank you. Welcome to all of you to this kickoff event. Over to you, Anke.
Yes, thank you very much, Karel and Mariko, for giving us some very important issues as a frame for civil society perspectives on the G7 presidency. And